Welcome, everybody, to another episode of We're Talking Sports, our second episode via Skype, via webcam. I'm Ben Burns, obviously, Richie Donnell to my upper right, and Brett Burke in the basement from Split. So good to see him there. But this is a special episode. We're obviously going to be focusing mostly on the NBA draft, which is going to be on Thursday. So this is what I love about the NBA offseason. Right when the finals ends, then we just get rolling.
Yeah.
It's
nice.
Nice.
And the best part about it is one of the things, obviously, leading up to the draft is all the rumors that you got to cipher through of what's real, what's not, what players are going to get traded, and something that we've already started to talk about, the Lakers and the Nets today.
Yes.
A draft pick already being involved, D'Angelo Russell, Timothy Mozgov, the $60 million man going to Brooklyn, and Brook Lopez and the 27th pick going back to LA. Ben, like we were talking, I mean, people are freaking out in LA, but probably shouldn't be.
No, I don't think so. I mean, with D'Angelo Russell, it was a big deal when they picked him. I mean, obviously they picked him over Jahlil Okafor, who a lot of people consider to be the best player in that draft. But I think after 2 years, it's pretty apparent that Russell isn't going to be the player we thought he could be.
Right.
And even then, I mean, they have Brandon Ingram, who I thought had a very good rookie season, and Jordan Clarkson. I think he's a solid point guard overall. Right. But getting a guy like Brook Lopez, I think that's a solid pick there, or a solid trade there to get a guy like Lopez, and trading away Mozgov is probably something Magic Johnson wanted to do immediately. So I think this is a good trade for the Lakers.
Yeah, and Brett, going over to another trade that impacted your favorite team, the swap of the first and third overall picks going down between Philadelphia and Boston. Anything coming out of Boston as to what this was for, who this was for? Is it to just trade it away, or what's going on here?
From everything that I've gathered, it's been. Ainge met with the media yesterday. He said that at number 3, we will most likely still have a chance to get the guy that we would have taken at number 1 anyway, which pretty much says it wasn't Markelle Fultz that they were looking at. I did see that Josh Jackson refused to work out for the Celtics today because they wouldn't guarantee that they would keep the number 3 pick. I don't know if that'll affect anything. It's either got to be Jackson or Tatum in my mind.
Right, and I had a conversation today. Looking at Tatum, I can see what Boston really likes here with him. Danny Ainge has been there for a while, in that organization. And Jason Tatum, when you look at him offensively, the way that he can shoot the ball but also attack the basket, you're almost looking at what could be a carbon copy of Paul Pierce coming again to the Boston Celtics.
That's a good comparison, I think. Tatum's not really a flashy player like Jackson, but he's just a solid overall guy who I think could be, somebody who you see on the all-team or first all-team defense, possibly in the future. But, I agree with Brett. I think... I think this was an excellent trade for Boston, basically dropping 2 spots and getting the Lakers' first-round pick in 2018. And essentially, I think Josh Jackson was their guy all along. Of course, I do think Fultz is the best player in this draft, but they don't have a need at point guard, seeing they have Isaiah Thomas and Marcus Smart if they give him an extension.
Right, yeah, and I completely agree with you. But when this trade obviously happened, the first thing that everybody did was just assumed Boston was going to go get either Paul George or Jimmy Butler.
Yeah,
which looks like neither is going to happen at this point. Because what was it? You said Philly did turn down a trade for Jimmy Butler, but now Boston having that pick, it almost seems like teams are jumping them in the pecking order. For both Paul George and Jimmy Butler at this point.
Yeah, and from that, Philly supposedly, the Bulls contacted them to try to trade, and I think it was number 3 pick in a first-rounder next year for Jimmy Butler, which I think is pretty good return on investment for the Sixers if they would have made that deal. I don't think Butler would have stayed in Philadelphia. I don't know if he really would have wanted he probably wouldn't even be the face of the franchise there with Embiid. But the Celtics are obviously falling down the list. Cavaliers seem to be putting the press on, but a report on ESPN says that the Cavs' push for Butler and George has slowed down, so that might have just been a false alarm in the first place.
Well, it also could have been David Griffin's idea, who has now parted ways, and and them being talked about getting either Paul Pierce or not Paul Pierce, Paul George or Jimmy Butler. Why wouldn't they just get Carmelo Anthony at the trade deadline? They could have got him for basically nothing. I mean, they could have traded him just for like Shumpert and maybe 2 first-round picks. And at this point, their first-round picks are at 29
exactly.
30.
You could have basically sent Shumpert and JR right back to New York where you got them from in the first place.
Right. But I just want to say, if they do want Jimmy Butler or Paul George, they're going to have to give up Kevin Love and then some.
No, absolutely. I think if a trade does go down where Cleveland does make a move for some type of asset, Kevin Love is as good as gone. That's just the reality of what it is. You're going to get rid of him before you get rid of Kyrie Irving.
Now Kyrie's there to stay. He's
right. And now the latest report apparently coming out of Kyrie Irving's camp is that if Cleveland does go and get Jimmy Butler and sign him to an extension, Kyrie Irving wants out of Cleveland with the possibility that LeBron could opt out after next season.
What's going on there?
Whether it's true or not, we don't know. We're obviously speculating, going off of what people are saying.
But all this speculation says that something's going on. It's like when David Black. I remember talking it with you in an earlier show when David Black got fired. Why is the team who's first in the East firing their head coach? That should never ever happen. And then they just parted ways with their GM. Something's going on. We know that LeBron wanted some more players at the trade deadline. All they got was Deron Williams and Andrew Bogut, who, of course, accounted to pretty much nothing.
And one of the things that I did see today, the owner, not Griffin, Dan Gilbert, has never committed or re-signed a general manager. The general manager has always lived out their contract, and when that contract has ended, he's moved on to a new general manager. He has yet to ever re-sign a general manager since he's been the owner. And not only that, but think about the turbulation that went on when LeBron left in the first place to head to Miami. Right. All the things that Gilbert did, that maybe Gilbert is back on a power trip here, as the reason as to why Griffin obviously ultimately left was his decision. And now if Gilbert tries to take power back over, maybe LeBron says, well, I don't want your power. I want somebody in between to keep the difference of ownership and basketball relations separate.
So I was actually thinking about this once Griffin got basically fired. Would the Cavs be so stupid? Could they actually just hire LeBron as their GM? Because if he's
I was wondering that. I honestly had that same thought.
If he's just so upset over all their moves, why don't they just say, hey, you draft the players, you tell us who you want, you sign the free agents, we'll handle all the money and the logistics.
And that's my thing. I'm not sure if you guys read the comments that I made or posted on Facebook, but that was basically what I said. LeBron is the GM. They just need somebody with a finance or business background in place to do the fine print on a contract and make sure that they don't go and make sure that they stay within the luxury. And that's it.
And we know Chauncey Billups isn't going to be that guy because he hates on LeBron all the time on ESPN.
But now he wants to work with him.
I don't get
it. Moving on to our last trade trip here. Over the last probably 3 hours, the most common name now, Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah.
Phil Jackson will not commit to his future. That would turn into a lot of draft picks for the New York Knicks if somebody was to go get him, being so young. Do you think the Knicks ultimately make a deal here before the draft, or does this end up just being something that's kind of a fluke here since they really have nobody to begin with?
I don't see there's any way that the Knicks trade Kristaps, because if you do, it's Philadelphia Sixers rebuild mode all over again for the Knicks. You have to get rid of Carmelo before you get rid of Kristaps.
Yep.
And I really don't think either one's going to happen because I think Phil Jackson doesn't realize Carmelo's value is probably at an all-time low. I don't know how much you would get for him now. He might be a first-round pick. I don't know when his contract runs out, but I believe it's this coming summer or next year.
I think you're right, 2018.
Yeah, I think for Carmelo. And Carmelo, it's a rental player like George again, right. And that's, Carmelo's going to try to join either with D-Wade or with LeBron or Chris Paul, one of his buddies from the teams, for USA, and it's going to be difficult for any team that doesn't have one of those players to re-sign him. So I think Phil Jackson missed the boat there, and if he gets rid of Kristaps, they should just fire him as soon as that trade is finalized.
I'd fire him before that.
Yeah,
right before they sign the fine print.
Before he makes it.
Right.
Now, I mean, if I got this right, I mean, since Phil's been there, what, 2.5 years? Almost 3 years?
I would say 3 or 4, yeah.
And they've had 3 different head coaches. I believe he fired the first one, brought in Derek Fisher. We know how that went. And now they're on Hornacek.
Yeah.
So they've had 3 coaches since Phil's been there. They have not committed to the 2 stars that they have had. They're uncommitted to. This almost seems like a Phil Jackson problem, not a New York Knicks problem.
Well, the only reason they're talking about trading Porzingis is because Porzingis isn't. He's upset at the progress of the team right now, as he should be.
Right.
And essentially, Porzingis is the only good thing that has come out of Phil Jackson running the team.
Yeah, and today they said that the Knicks really, really like Lauri Markkanen from Arizona, who is basically the same player as Porzingis is to begin with. I just want to get you guys' take on this. Obviously, Brett, you have seen Boston struggle in the past, before they went out and got the big 3. Ben, Dallas is in the situation they're in currently.
Yeah, they're in a soft rebuild.
And the team that I like, the Milwaukee Bucks, the owners couldn't apparently decide on a general manager. When you have 3 owners like that, and Jason Kidd and one owner want somebody and another owner wants somebody else, do you think that they can keep that to just management, or do you think everything's gonna trickle down because Kidd has a lot of power inside the organization?
Well, when it comes to hiring a GM, I think you need to have everybody with power involved, and with the Bucks case, that should be Jason Kidd, 100%. So I was hoping the Bucks would hire one of the 2 guys they were interviewing from Milwaukee. Keep it inside because they kind of do have a formula that is working at the moment. I mean, the last 2 rookies, Thon Maker and Malcolm Brogdon, were much better than expected. So,
and I think you can say the same for Giannis as well.
Yep.
Yep. And like you said, I thought that they would ultimately go with the assistant general manager, Justin Zanuck, who they had hired away from Utah, who's who I thought they were originally going to go with. Horst is a little bit of a wild card here because I don't think he even interviewed for the position, and he wasn't listed as a finalist. And then all of a sudden, the next day he's the general manager of the team, heading into the draft with the number 17 pick.
Correct me if I'm wrong. He was the guy that kind of handled the contracts, right?
He was involved, but he didn't necessarily handle it. I think that was John Hammond. But he was like the director of basketball operations or player personnel or something.
He did, but he didn't he wasn't the guy who handled the cap.
I believe that was John Hammond. They said with the Bucks for 9 years, and he's only 34 years old.
Okay.
So they said that he was heavily involved in front office and everyday duties.
Okay.
He just didn't have a pretty title, so to speak. But I wanted to get all that out of the way, all the rumors, all the trade talks, because obviously draft night is the most important night for these young men. And now let's dive into, these players whose lives are going to change forever. And let's start right at the top. I mean, Ben, you mentioned it. Markelle Fultz, this guy is unreal.
Yes. We're going with the unreal again. All right.
His potential is head and shoulders above everybody else, I think, at this point. I mean,
right.
No matter where he goes, he's going to be a star.
Well, he's going to go to Philly. We kind of know that already, and it's the right pick because to me, Fultz represents kind of this new era point guard. With guys like Russell Westbrook and Damian Lillard kind of display. He's extremely explosive. He's good. I mean, he's solid on defense. Doesn't really have a great shooting range, but I don't think you need that as a point guard. But overall, I mean, this guy has all-star written all over him.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And had Boston kept the pick, I thought he was great for Boston because he brings in another guy that would have taken away the attention of Isaiah Thomas. Obviously, now he's going to go to Philly. The only issue with the, his people are concerned about his jump shot. And obviously, with them taking Ben Simmons last year, they desperately need a shooter. But this guy can bring excitement back to the Philly to the 76ers, I'm sorry, that they probably haven't seen since Allen Iverson. This guy is going to score the basketball. He's going to score early. He's going to score often. And I think, if you have an elite trait, in today's age, scoring the basketball is a great elite trait to have.
Yeah, and it's definitely the biggest difference between him and Lonzo Ball. I mean, Ball is not a score-first point guard. Fultz is, and that's what Philadelphia needs. Ben Simmons, they still want to play point guard for parts of the game, so Fultz will play off the ball, being the shooting guard, and that will give him a great chance to use Simmons' ability to the fullest, along with giving Fultz an opportunity to just do what he did best in college, which is put the ball in the basket, and that's something that Philadelphia can't really rely on Embiid right now. They can't rely on Simmons either, but you should be able to rely on Fultz. He hasn't had injury problems in the past. Hopefully it's not the curse of Philly and it happens to him this year, but it's hard to pass on a guy like Fultz where everybody, except for apparently the Celtics, think he's the best player in the draft.
We are going to have a first here. For the first time on We're Talking Sports, we are going to announce live breaking news that has just been announced.
What?
Dwight Howard has been traded to the Charlotte Hornets for Miles Plumlee, Marco Bellinelli, and the 41st overall draft pick.
Wow.
Can you say that one more time? Dwight Howard's been traded for what?
Miles Plumlee, Marco Bellinelli, and the 41st overall pick in Thursday's draft. And he will go to Charlotte. And those three other assets will go back to Atlanta.
It's funny. I think two trade deadlines ago, the talk was Dwight Howard going to Charlotte. So, looks like they finally got their guy. But I want to remind you, it's not breaking news because we do post this at a later time. So,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
People that are watching this, they're like, no, that's not breaking news. But
48 hours ago, Dwight Howard was traded.
Yeah, more like 24, but but
yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, I'm just going now. I get the Plumlees mixed up all the time. Miles Plumlee was the guy that was on the Bucks, right?
Yes, he was. Yep.
Okay, so essentially, I mean, they really didn't give up much to get him.
Right.
So this just goes to show me. I mean, are the Hawks entering a rebuild mode? Because I don't think they're going to get Paul Millsap. And, I mean, without Millsap, without Howard, who else do they have? Dennis Schroeder?
What this tells me is that the front office is 100% behind the fact that they think they can build this team around Dennis Schroeder.
That's pretty terrifying.
No, I'm 100% with you, but I think that's what this tells us because obviously Millsap wanted out. He got that wish. Mm-hmm. And Dwight Howard was their other most expensive player. He's gone. Kyle Korver's gone.
So essentially it's Schroeder and Kent Bazemore.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
That's not a recipe for success.
Yeah, I got nothing on that. So
that sounds like 30 wins.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I give him credit for trying to do, the old school Spurs way of, rebuilding and stuff. But why did you give Dwight Howard the contract in the first place? Why did you give Kent Bazemore a huge contract in the first place?
Right. And apparently at that time, Budenholzer was in charge of all player decisions.
Right.
He has since been removed from that. And the Golden State Warriors assistant GM is now running the show. Go ahead, Brett.
Definitely for good reason. I mean, 18. What did Howard make? $20 million.
It was a lot. I think it was about
$20 million for a guy. I mean, I think he ended up averaging a double-double.
Yeah, I think he was around 15 and 10 or 15 and 11.
But does he bring you to that next level? Not when you're the Hawks and your best scorer is. I mean, is your best scorer Paul Millsap or Dennis Schroeder? I don't know.
We know who the better player is.
I think Millsap's a better scorer too.
Yeah,
that team wasn't. Maybe if Al Horford's still there, you add Howard, and that takes pressure off of Horford to grab rebounds. Maybe it brings you an extra 2 or 3 wins a year. But with Horford gone, you bring in Howard. Can't do as much as Horford does, and you saw that this year with their performance. And I think that, they get a decent amount in return, I guess, somebody that can help fill the gaps until they have a chance to find players they want to rebuild with. And you always pick up a draft pick that isn't at the bottom of the draft. It gives them an opportunity, hopefully find someone that they can stash in the D-League.
Yeah, and you got to look at it from the other side as well. Charlotte, this was a team that made the playoffs 2 years ago, kind of came out flat last year, but has a young star in Kemba Walker. They haven't had much success in the bigs that they've tried to bring in. The ones that you think of, obviously, Zeller, who is still there, hasn't really necessarily been the guy they thought when they drafted him originally. Kaminsky is obviously a stretch player, not a play in the paint kind of guy. So Dwight gives them a new entity here for a team that had high expectations last year. And obviously, you still got to go back to the owner of Michael Jordan trying to do splashy things.
So, as it stands right now, their starting lineup, the Hornets starting lineup is Kemba Walker, Nicholas Batum, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Frank Kaminsky, and Dwight Howard. And then with Zeller off the bench.
That's what you would probably assume there. And they still managed to keep their first-round pick. So, depending upon who they take there...
Well, right. They have the 12th overall pick, too. I think they can go out and get, a good shooting guard. I think there will be a lot of twos available at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And so going back to the top of the draft, we got through Fultz. Lonzo Ball. How is this situation going to... People are so worried about his dad. It's unbelievable. And it's more of a media thing than an organization thing. I will say I was watching First Take for the first time in 3 years the other day, and I agreed with Stephen A. On something, and that shocked me as much as the shocked face on both your guys's. But Stephen A. made a comment, and they were saying that Lonzo's success will have nothing to do with LeVar. People don't care about his dad because it's not his dad that they're drafting.
ESPN cares.
ESPN cares, but the organizations don't. And that whether the people inside the organization, whether that be players, coaches, front office members, whatever, like Lonzo, that's going to be because of Lonzo. It's not going to be because of LeVar. And if Lonzo has a good season, it's going to be because of Lonzo, not LeVar. And they said the only thing that could ruin that is if he pulled a Nick Young and ended up, or not Nick Young, I'm sorry, D'Angelo Russell, and leaking information out to, what probably would be his dad, and his dad retaliating or spreading that information farther would be the only thing that would really cost him trust from his teammates or the organization.
Yeah, Lonzo, obviously a player sort of like Fultz, you have concerns for his jump shot, but if you watched him play at UCLA, his dad got a lot of the attention, and that's unfortunate because he had a phenomenal season with the Bruins. He brought them back to the national spotlight, made them one of the best teams in the country, and I think he can definitely – he's already fit into the spotlight in LA. If the Lakers take him, he'll fit right in. It won't be something new to him. UCLA had a ton of attention on them this year, and whether it might take him a couple years, I don't think he'll come in and be a superstar his first year. I think it's going to take him a little while to get used to players that actually understand how to play defense all 48 minutes and can fill in the passing lanes that he sees. But I think he'll still be a great player for the Lakers. And now that Russell's gone, he won't have anybody to compete with really and be able to have that opportunity at starting right away with the young core that they're building.
Yeah, I do agree. It's going to take a while for him to maybe not adjust, but just develop into an NBA player. Unlike Fultz, who I think can just step on the scene right away. I do think there is a lot of negativity coming from coming to Lonzo Ball just because of his dad, but. Lonzo Ball and LeVar Ball are the exact opposite. Lonzo is kind of a guy who doesn't always want to be in the spotlight. He's very humble, and that, or at least that's what we've been told. So I think judge Lonzo on Lonzo, not on LeVar.
Right, and I completely agree with you. And like you said, the difference between Fultz and Lonzo is I think Fultz has an elite trait. And that's what sets him apart from everybody else, is that he does have something that he can offer right now that is elite and can make him NBA ready. Whereas I think Lonzo Ball, maybe sometime down the road, just with the way that his game is, could end up, becoming a triple-double machine, similar to that of what we saw, maybe not out of James Harden and Russell Westbrook, because I don't know if he's that high level of an athlete, but something comparable to somebody like Jason Kidd, who just did a lot of things very well and was able to impact, the games from a rebounding, assist, and point total, but didn't have to score 20, get, 15 rebounds or 15 assists. He just did a little bit of everything.
I think that's a good comparison, Jason Kidd. He's definitely not Jason Kidd yet, but
no, not yet.
Could develop into that, if he has the right coaches and the right system. And, with Magic Johnson coming into practice and Luke Walton as coach, that's a good start.
Yeah, I completely agree. Brett, on to your favorite player, the guy that you've been begging for all offseason here, Josh Jackson, who has declined to work out for your Boston Celtics.
Yep.
What made you love him to begin with, that you think, maybe he ends up at 3 ultimately?
I think when you look at Josh Jackson, it's really what you want to see for an athlete in today's NBA. It's a guy that can stretch the floor. He's long. He's got incredible athleticism on all levels. He plays defense well. He can jump. His shot, he doesn't shoot the ball that well, which is something of a concern, especially in today's NBA where three-pointers and stretching the floor is so important. But I think it'll be a lot like Jaylen Brown, where people didn't expect him to shoot threes that well. And then in the first half, he struggled. Coming into the second half, I think he shot close to 40%. And I think playing alongside Jaylen Brown, Josh Jackson could be somebody that the Celtics build around with Brown for the next 10 years. And they'll be a formidable duo. They can both score and play defense, something that you don't see done that well in the NBA because defense is such a limited commodity, it seems. And both of those guys are guys that can really fill that role because of their length and athleticism.
Well, let me ask you this. You mentioned the ability of stretching the floor, and obviously Jackson isn't a dead eye, or knockdown shooter that everybody wants in today's NBA, like you said. But there is the possibility.
There was a cat right behind you.
Yes, yeah, there's a cat. We have a cat. But when you look at it and you look at how that team is built, if let's just say Boston doesn't make any other moves besides adding their draft picks, if Jackson gets to the basket, Isaiah is a dead-eye shooter, somebody that can can stand out on the 3-point line, and you have another player like Avery Bradley, who's considered a 3-and-D guy, that maybe Jackson's ability to get to the rim at will is exactly what Boston needs to open the floor, instead of adding a knockdown shooter and expecting somebody else to be the guy that drives to the rim every time. Because Isaiah, being as big as he is only going to be able to go to the rim so many times before it catches up with him, and maybe that's what Boston's looking for instead.
Yeah, and you definitely saw that this year with Isaiah getting hurt in the playoffs. It finally caught up to him. It wore him down. It happened in the Washington series. It just, eventually, if you take enough hits at that size, regardless of how tough you are, it's going to catch up. And Josh Jackson, although he is very comparable to Brown, I think he's a better slasher to the rim. He's better at getting into the hole. Brown doesn't create quite as well yet. I don't think he's a better shooter, and he is a pretty great finisher on lobs and around the rim. But Jackson would bring another player, unlike Jay Crowder, who you can't really send into the lane to slash and get to the hoop. Crowder's more of a 3-and-D guy as well. Josh Jackson brings you a different element to that 3 or 4 spot wherever you have him playing, and it should really open up the floor for Isaiah, Avery Bradley, and Al Horford on the perimeter.
Yeah, and now, moving on to another guy that has been linked to Boston, probably the most interesting of these top 6 guys who are considered, I guess, the top 6, so to speak here. Jason Tatum is the wild card in this whole thing, because you don't know where he's going to go. But, we had talked about the comparison to Paul Pierce. He is a guy that can score from everywhere on the court, and he has the size and athleticism. It's almost as if, if you didn't get to see, for people that didn't get to see Paul Pierce in his prime, you're almost looking at Aaron Gordon with a better jump shot.
Yeah, I think that's a solid kind of comparison there. Like I said, with Paul Pierce, and Jason Tatum, he doesn't really stand out on tape. Right. Like you said, in the top 6, he's probably number 6 for me. But and it'll be interesting to see where he ends up going in this draft. Does he fall, to 7 or 8, or do the Celtics pick him right away at number 3? He could go anywhere in there. So, like you said, he's the wild card.
Yeah, it's one of those that weird situation where you don't really know, and he's the guy that's going to affect boards, starting with the top. It's one of those things. Brett, anything to add before we?
When you read the scouting reports between him and Josh Jackson, the one difference that most people say is that Tatum right now is a weaker defender.
I would agree.
He gets kind of lost with the footwork when a quicker player is on him. Josh Jackson's obviously the more athletic of the two. Yeah. But Tatum is a far better shooter as of right now. And so depending on what the Celtics want to set up for the future, will highly depend on who they pick. There's one other player we'll talk about later, I'm sure, that I wouldn't be so mad about them picking either. But Josh Jackson and Jason Tatum are the 2 likeliest picks. And both of them, I think, will end up being all-stars in the future. I don't know who will end up being a better player, but they're 2 different styles of players as of right now.
Yeah, and we talked about Lonzo Ball. Moving on to a guy that, in the head-to-head competition, is 2-0 up on Lonzo Ball right now, and that's De'Aaron Fox coming out of Kentucky. I watch a lot of Kentucky games because I'm a big fan of John Calipari and how he rebuilds every year, the coaching that he does. This kid is going to be special. I really believe that. I'm a big fan of him, and to me, this screams Sacramento Kings all over it. If they don't pick this guy, they are going to be hurting for another couple of years. I think this is the right guy for that team, for them to bring in and say, okay, if we're going to start somewhere, I think they can start with this guy to get back to those Mike Bibby, Chris Webber days that most of us weren't really old enough to remember to begin with.
Well, De'Aaron Fox he's not going to get past 5, Sacramento, but I think Phoenix could pick him at number 4, even though they pretty much have every guard in the NBA already. And Boston could also pick him at number 3. I think that's a possibility right there. But I love De'Aaron Fox, like you, Richie. I see him, he's kind of in between Damian Lillard and Elfrid Payton. Kind of one of those players, kind of in the middle of that solid guy. I think he's a guy that can not tear up the league right away, but be a really good player almost immediately. So, yeah, I really like De'Aaron Fox, and not just because he shut down Lonzo Ball, but he could be a better player than Lonzo Ball at this point.
Right, and they were talking to him on ESPN, and they interviewed his dad about the possibility of him going higher and whatnot. But, I mean, De'Aaron Fox is a guy that could only score 9 points and just give you 15 assists. Or he is a guy that can score 40 and get you 8 assists. I mean, so when I think of somebody like that, I almost look at somebody that went to Kentucky as well. He's not to that elite level, but he's almost comparable, similar to John Wall in that aspect.
That's a good comparison there. Yeah.
He can score 40 if needed, but he can also be the team guy that just leads you to victories and helps your team get to that next level.
And, I mean, I don't know if you guys realized, the one thing I didn't notice about Fox is how, obviously, he's a great scorer, and he can become an even better scorer because he was absolutely terrible from the three-point line.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He was 24.3% from deep, which I would say is almost unheard of for a guard to shoot that poorly and still take a fair amount of shot attempts, but that's something that the more he works on it, the more he gets coaching to work on his stroke from deep, that he should get much better over time, and that just adds another threat to a player that already has so many moves to get to the basket and finishes a lot like Kyrie and Isaiah Thomas do around the hoop. He has many ways to finish and score points for a team that had so many players already, but he still stood out.
Yeah. The last guy of the top 6 that kind of seems to be locked up there is more based on his potential than anything else, and that's Jonathan Isaac, who a lot of guys, or I shouldn't say guys, a lot of teams, they either love him or they hate him because the potential is really, I mean, it's sky high, but you have to get him there. And, he's a little bit behind compared to the other 5 guys that we just talked about. But this is a guy that they don't expect to last very long on draft night.
Yeah, I don't see him slipping past 7 with Minnesota. I love him. Look, right now, if I had a big board, I would probably put him 3 or 4 behind Fultz, Jackson, and then maybe De'Aaron Fox. But I think he's great. I think he is somebody who you can play at power forward, kind of in this new type of system. And he has the body of Kevin Durant, which I really like. And, people for eternity are going to knock Kevin Durant's size, tell him to hit the weights. But, look, I think, he's made it work, and I think Isaac can make it work. I really like him.
Well, and to further divulge into what you're saying with the look of Kevin Durant, they said the same thing about Giannis, who ended up slipping all the way to 15. They said he's built similar to Kevin Durant. He's the European version of Kevin Durant. Teams kept passing on him, and now realizing what he has become. Do you think that maybe now teams are a little scared to say, hey, we're not going to let this guy fall, because being compared to Kevin Durant, people are now saying that Durant is surpassing LeBron as the best player on the planet.
Well, absolutely. Well, I mean, people aren't going to pass up on Isaac because, that 6'10" height, 7'2" wingspan, that's the new thing. Especially, with, Giannis and pretty much the Milwaukee Bucks drafting anybody with that size. We saw it with Thon Maker, but... I mean, those players are going to get higher and higher on the draft stock. Those were the guys that dominated at the Combine this offseason. So we're going to see Isaac picked in the top 10, obviously, and we're going to probably see other guys picked very high.
Right, and you talk about other guys. There's a couple other guys here that have been talked about going that high that I have other first round names that have been highly noticeable, but have kind of been a little bit more all over the board, so to speak. Some people have had them super high as early as 3, 4, 5, or 6, or falling outside the top 10. And the first name, a player that I really like as well, that I think a team desperately in need of a shooter should go and get, and that's Malik Monk, coming out of Kentucky as well, along with his teammate De'Aaron Fox.
Go ahead, Brett.
The bigger name, Monk was, I'd say, the bigger name pretty much until the first matchup with Ball, or until the second matchup with Ball. Had all the spotlight in Kentucky. Fox was obviously there, but everybody was focusing on how good Malik Monk was, how good he could be at the next level. And after Fox's performance against Ball, kind of got pushed to the side and moved down draft board some, but obviously a great player, a better shooter than Fox, maybe not quite as explosive, but somebody that can really fit in well with today's NBA teams.
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I love Malik Monk, and he's probably gonna drop a little bit in draft, or he has dropped already in draft stock because he doesn't have a great size. He's 6'4" and has a 6'3" wingspan. Not that great, not what, like I said, not the size teams are looking for now. But this is a guy who is a great shooter. He's gonna be in a dunk contest someday because he's so fun to watch. It reminds me of a lot of Victor Oladipo.
Okay.
I think. I think he can be a good player. I think he's gonna be a solid starter in the NBA. I don't know where his ceiling is though. But if I were Dallas at number 9, and if he were there, I would pick him so fast you wouldn't know what happened.
Yeah, and you talked about Victor Oladipo, and with Monk had a great year. So we can't really say that he's a streaky player because we don't necessarily know that yet, just because he was hot all season long. But then you mentioned the ability to get into a dunk contest. And that reminds me of another guy that went top 10, and that's J.R. Smith, another guy who has consistently hit big shots. He's a little bit streakier, but in his younger days was in a dunk contest as well.
Yeah.
So the next guy on this list could arguably be the best athlete in this draft class. Somebody, unfortunately, we didn't get to see in March, and that's Dennis Smith. This guy is a heck of an athlete. I didn't say unreal. I kept it from coming out.
He's somewhat real.
But this guy is an unbelievable player, and even that much better of an athlete, to the point where the Knicks really, really love him, despite the fact that they don't think he can run the triangle offense.
Yeah, I really like Dennis Smith too. I like him more because he can drop to number 9 at Dallas. And I would love to see him pick there. But I mean, easily the most explosive player in the draft. He's a great facilitator too. That's what I really like about him is, it's not just the explosiveness. It's not just that he can get above the rim. He can do a lot of other things too. And I hate to compare anybody to Russell Westbrook just because Westbrook's completely unbelievable. But yeah, he's kind of like Russell Westbrook. He's not going to give you 42 triple-doubles, but
right.
He's that kind of player.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. That was the comparison that I had as well. Just his athleticism, his ability to finish it, and maybe one day he does get us 43 triple-doubles and breaks Russell Westbrook's single-season record for all we know. But he can be that type of player. Brett, go ahead. You looked like you had something.
I think I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure he led the NCAA in triple-doubles this year. If I put a guess out there, I'd say it was him.
Yeah, he's that type of player.
It was at least, seemed like once a week you'd go to Sports Center and he'd have a triple-double, but he's a guy that doesn't get a lot of attention because of how bad NC State was, unfortunately. Didn't get in the spotlight a lot, but somebody that without Dennis Smith, NC State might have won 3 or 4 games.
Right. And you talked about him not getting the spotlight because his team was bad. Markelle Fultz obviously fighting against the same thing with how bad Washington is. I think hurt at the end of the season and ended up missing the last, I think it was week, and then he had to sit out of the ACC tournament. Had he not gone through that injury, I think you're looking at a top 3 pick.
Yeah, I think you're right. You cut out just a little bit there, but pretty much what you said going through, like, players with bad teams, I mean, you can go through history. You know, Damian Lillard is probably the perfect example. Did not play on a good team with Weber State, but...
the NCAA was really his only opportunity. You know, the one time they made the tournament with him there, it was really his only ability to showcase his talent. Going to a guy that's been all over the board, as low as 17, 18, 19, all the way up to 9, 8, and 7, and that's Zach Collins from Gonzaga, who kind of fits this new mold stretch 4, had a huge NCAA tournament, very similar to Karl Anthony Towns when he was at Kentucky. Didn't necessarily get the playing time. His per numbers are what people are basing his abilities off of. Where's this guy going to fall?
I'd say he's closer towards the 15, 16, 17 mark. I think there's too many guys. I think he's more developed and could fit in to the NBA quicker now than some of the other players, but I think his ceiling might be a little bit lower, and that will scare some of the teams that are rebuilding away. Obviously, he stepped up to the plate in the NCAA tournament, was a big reason why Gonzaga did what they did, but there's guys like Lauri Markkanen, Jonathan Isaac, guys like that have higher ceilings and can pretty much do what he does as well already. And it's just depending on whose playing style you like better onto who will end up going first. But I think he probably falls in that low to mid-teens area to a team, maybe the Milwaukee Bucks, that need somebody to help stretch the floor outside of Middleton and Giannis.
Yeah, and I think the reason his stock is so high, or it for some people is so high, is because there are not a lot of players at the top of the draft that can play at the 5, at the center. Right. Really, the only guy in the top 10 that can probably play at center is Markkanen. So I think that's the reason why he's maybe a little bit higher, but like Brett said, I think somewhere around 15, maybe a team like Portland that could be there at 15. You know, maybe 14 Miami, make him the backup of Whiteside. But you know, he'll have his suitors for sure, probably right at the end of lottery area.
Yeah, and like you said, Ben, to go off the fact that there aren't necessarily a whole lot of 5s in this draft, but the fact that he can also play under the basket and stretch the floor, he is a full all-around player in that aspect, gives him a lot of value. And this is the type of guy that I think, you know, when you look at a draft, you're not going to expect his name to be called, but all it takes is one team to fall in love with him.
Sure.
And that's the type of player that this guy is. He's not loved by everybody, but he's going to be the guy that somebody, you know, at the top possibly could end up falling in love with.
Yeah.
And sticking on that same thing, a guy that you both brought up, Lauri Markkanen, probably looking at a top 10 pick as the top true stretch 4 here in this draft.
Yeah, and definitely, like you said earlier in our show, somebody that compares to Kristaps Porzingis in a lot of ways. And every time I watched him, I grew to like his game more and more. Really does remind you of Porzingis. He's able to stretch the floor. He can grab rebounds. Yeah. He can block shots. He can do a lot of things that you expect from your big guy, and stretches the floor exceptionally well for a guy that's, I think he's still 19 years old. Somebody that will come in on a team that is rebuilding and will have a chance to get a lot of playing time and probably start to mold and take the same path that Porzingis has and probably be a future star in the NBA very shortly.
Yeah, he just turned 20, just recently. But, yeah, I mean, to me, he is a good player. It's, you know, you always, it seems like with these tall white guys or European guys, you're always looking for the Porzingis comparison, or before that, the Dirk Nowitzki comparison. It's not bad, but like, not many of those guys have actually succeeded. Really the only two have been Nowitzki and Porzingis, and that's why guys like Dragan Bender go number 4 overall. But I think, in this draft, he's not going to go top 5. He might go top 10, but there are more athletic players than him. So we could see him slide a little bit, but give him time. Give him time to kind of adjust, and I think he could be a good player.
Yeah, and Ben, like you said, they always make that same comparison year after year after year with the top stretch European player. But with this guy, I'd like to give him a little bit more of a chance than give him the high comparison. You never want to be a poor man's somebody, but I think when you look at his game, Brett, maybe you can help me out here. Kelly Olynyk is the poor man's version of Markanian at this stage, because Olynyk eventually, after 4 years of college, became the player that Markanian is now at 20 years old.
Yeah, and Olynyk, Markanian, I will say, will probably be a better rebounder than Olynyk is. Olynyk, not nearly as tough or thick, I guess you could say, in a way that Markanian is, and that's something that will definitely help him down the road. Olynyk's finally starting to maybe find his groove for stretches of time, but I think Markanian will be able to do that much more consistently. If he can just shoot the three anywhere between 33 to 35%, grab 6 or 7 rebounds a game, I don't think any team will be unhappy with his production. And, you're looking probably at least 14 to 16 points if he does those things.
Yeah, Minnesota's kind of been the team that's been talking about picking him at number 7. So, food for thought.
Yeah. Sticking with the theme, we're going to go from one European player to another. Lori went to Arizona, but this is the top and seems to be the best international player in this draft. Ben, you have always done a great job correcting my my unpronounced
right. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it looks like Frank Ntilikina.
That I was not going to say anything close to that.
It sounds right.
But I was waiting for the butchered name. I really was. I wanted to see how it was going to come out.
It was going to be really, really bad. So, but this guy, obviously being a point guard, you're going to hear all he's the next Tony Parker comparisons. I have failed miserably in researching this guy. I really do not know a whole lot about him. Much like most of the world, probably.
Well, yeah.
But he almost seems to be a consensus top 10 pick, and the team that I have seen that loves him the most has been the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, I've seen the Knicks and the Mavericks love him the most, and there's even been talks that the Mavs might trade up to 6 or 7, kind of leapfrog the Knicks to pick him. Like he's the mystery player this year. Last year it was Bender. The year before that, I think it was Dante Exum. Yes. But there are guys like that who, we just can't find anything on him, and clearly the GMs and owners, they know more just because they're getting personal workouts and they know people who can get them tape and stuff like that isn't available on the internet. But I have no idea. All I know is he's young, and some people like him. His stat line isn't that great. It's like...
Yeah, well, and that's the thing with most European players is normally you can't look at the stat line because these are 17, 18, 19-year-old kids playing on teams that are loaded with 21 to 29 to sometimes 35-year-old grown men, playing on these professional teams. So it's really hard to tell how this guy's going to develop. But somebody that we're a little bit more familiar about is his teammate definitely gets all the attention. But this guy, a very, very good player, and that's Luke Kennard, who I've seen as high as 10 and 9, but as low as the mid-teens and just outside the lottery.
Kennard, I think, a very underrated player so far. I think he can be one of the better scorers in this draft. Every time you watched him at Duke, he stepped up when Grayson Allen got suspended, when Grayson Allen wasn't playing well, when Jason Tatum and Harry Giles were hurt or weren't able to perform at the level they were needed, Luke Kennard was the one consistent player for that team throughout the year. And I think he really went from being probably a mid to late second round pick to possibly cracking into the lottery. And I think he's a player that it kind of reminds me of Jamal Murray, a guy that shoots the ball very well, and will basically be your scorer. I think most teams can use that type of player, especially teams that are just outside of the playoffs looking to crack into being those 7 and 8 seeds, which is where he'll probably fall.
Well, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, no, I mean, see, I like him too. I think he's a good player, and he obviously stood out on a highly talented Duke team. I compare him to Kyle Korver, though. He's hands down the best shooter in the draft. I think he's a guy who could actually make the top 10 all-time three-pointers list, like Kyle Korver. But Kyle Korver has only been a role player in his entire career, and I think that's what's going to become of Kennard. I don't think he's ever a guy who you need to lean on or depend on or is going to be your primary shooter. So to me, I don't think he has that high of a ceiling. But looking at a team like the Hornets at number 11 or the Pistons at number 12, they already have their star players. They already have their first and second scorers. Adding a guy like Kennard, I think, would be great for them, adding a three-point shooter.
Yeah, what I like most about Kennard, one of the things that stands out to me about his career was that he was the guy that nobody knew when they went to the national championship. It was all about Jahlil Okafor. He was the guy. He was a part of that class when they came in, and then they had Grayson Allen, who's their big time scorer, and then he gets all the attention. But Kennard showed up in that national championship game against Wisconsin, and he took over. He was a guy that a lot of people didn't really know, and he ended up playing very, very well in that game.
Did he miss a year after that?
That I'm not sure.
He's a sophomore. So
he is only a sophomore?
Yeah.
See, I thought he was the same class as those other guys.
I have no idea. He's a sophomore as far as I know. So
could be a redshirt. I don't know. But I thought that he was in that game. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I look like an idiot.
Hey, it doesn't matter.
But like you said, this guy is the best shooter. And I was going to say exactly what you did. I think his stock is going to solely depend on where teams think his ceiling is. Is this guy going to get better? We don't know. A lot of Duke players hit their ceiling while they're at Duke.
Right.
That just happens to be how Duke players are, and to talk about a guy that went to Duke, that you talk about Kyle Korver, you can almost talk about J.J. Redick, a player that's almost that same kind of guy.
Kyle Korver went to Creighton.
I know. I mean, I'm saying.
Okay.
You compare him
I compared him to Kyle Korver instead of J.J. Redick because he has the same size. Kennard's, I believe, 6'6", Korver's 6'7". So they have the height to. They're rarely going to get blocked. So I think that's one reason why Korver has been so successful.
Brett, nothing?
I think, like you guys said, Kennard's ceiling is probably limited in that he will be either your like third, fourth, or fifth option, or like that sixth man role. But I think he's a guy that could put up 16, 18 points a game if he's put in the right situation where he doesn't have to create his own shot. He was able to do so at Duke at times, but I don't think in the NBA, if he's playing the three, where there's guys possibly like Jimmy Butler or Paul George defending him, that he's going to be able to create his shot versus those type of players, and that's something that will hold him back.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and that's obviously the biggest thing going from college to the pros is the speed of the game, the length. These guys are the best at what they do for a reason. On to my favorite part. the boom or bust prospects. The guys that are all over the board because somebody loves them, the next guy hates them. You don't know what you're going to get because their potential could be the best player in the league, and their floor is the mop boy. I mean, it's all over the place here. But let's start with one of the big guys that has kind of risen, then dropped, and that's Justin Patton coming out of Creighton.
I like Justin Patton. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good athletic player. He's got the 7'3" wingspan. Not very big for being a 7-footer, but still, I mean, it's better than Malik Monk's. But anyways, no, I think he is a solid player. Not a top 10 pick, maybe not even a top 15 pick, but I think, he can go to a team, like the Denver Nuggets that I think he could contribute pretty nicely and could maybe even play a little bit of the 4.
Yeah, I think he's a player similar to Jonathan Isaac in a lot of ways. He doesn't shoot the ball quite as well, but I think that's something that could develop, and he fits right into that stretch type mold, and he's so young. A player from Creighton, you usually do not see one and dones, but he is the exception here, and he's a player that could really develop quickly with the right coaching and become a go-to player for a lot of teams.
Yeah, Patton, being a Marquette fan, I saw a lot of Patton. This dude could become a freak athlete. He has that ability to sometimes, when he wants to. He obviously has to mature a little bit, but when he wanted to dominate in the paint, there was nobody that was going to stop him. And I think he just has to find that switch. Like you said, Ben, that inconsistency is what made him fall outside of the top 10 and even maybe outside of the top 20, like you said, because sometimes he just didn't have that killer instinct to take over when they needed. But if they can get him in an organization that helps him find that switch, trim the baby fat a little bit and get this guy in tip-top shape, you're looking at an old-school low-post guy who could really just dominate the boards and be a cleanup guy and just, really turn the fortune of a team around inside the paint.
All right. Good stuff.
Another guy that's been all over the board, your typical 3-and-D guy, Donovan Mitchell. This guy is on the rise right now, but he started super low. Where does he end up?
I think he'll be one of the last lottery picks. I think he'll be in the 12, 13, 14 range. He has freak athletic ability, and that's usually going to get you drafted high. He's nowhere near a guy like Malik Monk, where, so yeah, I would put him in the 12, 13, 14 range, but I don't know. To me, he doesn't have the it factor.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably the best athlete in this entire draft. If you watch him and watch what he can do, his vertical is unbelievable. His quickness is really good as well. He just has all the tools athletically. He just doesn't really put them all together when trying to play on the offensive end of the basketball court, and that's something that's going to hurt his draft stock. A great finisher around the rim. If you want somebody you can throw a lob to, he is a guy that can do that very, very well, but he wasn't known for his shooting ability. He didn't really shoot the ball that well at Louisville. He was just a guy that they were able to take advantage of fast breaks, him cutting to the hole, going backdoor, things like that, and that is something he'll have to work on, but he definitely has the potential to be late lottery. Probably fall out of it depending on how some of these other guys go, like Zach Collins and Justin Patton, but somebody that should be right around there at the end of the lottery.
Yeah, he's your typical slasher. He's probably comparable to what Victor Oladipo was when he came out of school. Oladipo, obviously a better scorer, as the focal point of Indiana at that time. But Oladipo didn't have a great jump shot. It was something that he needed to work on, but had elite athletic ability, could get to the rack as needed, could dunk on you and make you look stupid. And that's almost what Mitchell is. But I think also due to the fact that Oladipo hasn't become, a rising star, and having almost that same comparison, that's where he falls a little bit, and I think could end up, outside of the lottery.
Possibly. And I mean, especially if it. Sorry to interrupt, but especially if, like I said, there are not a lot of centers in this draft. So maybe if somebody overshoots for a guy like Justin Paxson?
Patton, yeah.
Patton. There's a lot of names going in my head right now. Patton, or a guy like OG Anunoby, who was one of the freaks in the combine. Somebody could overshoot for him. So it's very possible that he could slide out of the
You talk about overshooting for a big guy. Jared Allen is another guy that people really, really love or hate coming out of Texas, because it almost was as if he was playing not at his full potential, but they think his potential is super, super high. This is a guy that's going to need to lose probably weight and then rebuild his look. But all the potential in the world. This is a guy that could probably even fall to the second round, right, if teams just start saying, "Hey, you didn't impress us enough. We need more consistency from you."
Yeah, he's a project for sure. I mean, he's got good size. At 6'11", 5-10 years ago, you'd say he's a power forward. Today, he's a center for sure. Yeah. But yeah, somebody needs to get him into the gym and just start working on him, and I think he needs to, I guess, like you said, redo his entire game.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's somebody that's either loved or hated by teams, and I think in today's NBA, where so many of those teams that are at the bottom half of the first round, it's not so much about who the best player available is, it's who the player that the teams like best and that they think will fit their system best, and I think that could hurt him a little bit, where he's not even necessarily the best center in the draft behind guys like Collins and Patton. Somebody that, like you guys said, is definitely going to have to work on his game and take time. Still young, which will help him, but has a long ways to go before he can be a really solid contributor for any team.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not necessarily best player available, but who the team likes the most. And in some cases, when you look at the back end of the first round, teams that made the playoffs, they don't need somebody to play now. They don't, even need somebody on their roster because of how small the NBA rosters are. They just take the guy with the highest ceiling and then put him in the D League. That is something
G
that
League
is
now. It's a G
League. I'm sorry, the G League. That's something that's very possible in today's age as well, with every team almost having their own G League team, is something that a team could do and just say, hey, this kid has the highest ceiling. Let's grab him, start working with him, and maybe in 2 or 3 years, he helps them out. And you talked about a player like Patton, being in love with him more so that somebody could take over Allen. Bam Adebayo, another player that plays that same position, that is almost an immediate player on the defensive side of the ball alone, that could step in and possibly play for somebody right away. But his stock has fallen. How far do we see this guy fall for a guy that's almost comparable to what we saw out of Bismack Biyombo?
Yeah, I think he falls at least into the 20s. Bismack Biyombo obviously got that massive contract after he had a 20 rebound game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think that elevated him to people thinking he's a great player. I don't think he's worthy of the contract he got, obviously, because I think not being able to score is a huge issue. And Bam, he didn't have to score at Kentucky. That was something he didn't have to put on his shoulders, and I think that kind of hurt his stock. But I think it'll hurt him in the future as well, because I don't think he has a great arsenal of post moves.
Ben, I got 2 questions for you based off
of what
Brett said here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. All right. Do you like Bam?
To a point, yes.
Okay. And why that comes in is because with what Brett was saying about, his scoring is a liability. There was a player once upon a time named Tyson Chandler who didn't score the basketball, but was the difference maker of a team winning an NBA championship in Dallas. Is that a fair comparison here with Bam?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if you were to compare Tyson Chandler to anybody in this draft, I would say Bam. Okay. He's a big boy, and we don't have a lot of those guys anymore in this in the NBA. I mean, when you do, they get hurt all the time, like Andrew Bogut.
Yes.
You know, so I do like him. I think, but there are a lot of centers in this draft, not a lot of top, like, that are going to be in the top 10, but there are a lot of guys. I mean, like, I like Ivan Rapp a lot, and he might not get picked till around 30. You know, and I'm just looking right now on my phone. Ike Anigbogu, he was a big combine monster as well. Somebody like Anzej Pazinkis, I'm just going to call him AP. AP, you know, I mean, he's got great size at 7'2". You know, whenever a guy that's 7'1" or 7'2" comes in the league, people want him right away solely for his size. But yeah, I think Bam could be slipped from the 25 to 30 range. The Lakers have 2 picks now at 27 and 28, so I think they could pick him there since they just lost Moskov. But we don't know. It'll be interesting for him to see, but, you know, he might be another G League prospect.
Yeah. Onto a guy where this boomer bust is solely going to depend on the red flags that he gets, the medical report. I probably should have put him under the guys that have question marks instead of the boomer bust. But that's Harry Giles, who once upon a time was projected as the number 1 pick in this draft based off of talent alone. I mean, this dude can be a good basketball player, but he's basically Brandon Roy, and he's only a freshman in college.
I think you have to pass on him. I really do. It's somebody you might be able to take a second-round waiver on, but I think if any team picks him in the first round, they're setting themselves up for failure. The guy, I think, is it 3 ACLs in 4 years?
Something like that.
Or is it 2 and 3? It's either 3 and 4 or 2 and 3, but either way.
He tore it twice in high school. I think it's 3 and 4.
Yeah. He played like 10 games at Duke. And when he played like 12 minutes.
So let me ask you this. You're saying if anybody takes a first-round pick on him, what if Cleveland or Golden State take him?
I mean, I still think he's not going to ever be a successful player.
But I mean, do you think that a team that doesn't need him could just say, hey, if this pans out, we're going to look like geniuses?
Well, neither of them have draft picks in this draft.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
So maybe like the Spurs.
Going off of that, I think that's... So teams taking flyers on players like that, I think, yeah, that can happen and it can help. But I think you also see situations in Cleveland where they don't have a point guard. Like, they don't have a second point guard because they haven't drafted well when they do have those picks, in my opinion. They're starting to get there, but it always puts them in position where they have to go out and get guys. And instead of developing them in the garbage time that they have or in the games where they're not playing the starters, they just try to go out and get veterans halfway through the season to fill in those teams.
Right.
Get a little lag apparently.
Okay, now you're coming. Sorry, yeah.
Hey, there it is.
Yeah, I'm back, yeah. So that's going to be an awkward 5 seconds, but...
Anything to add on Harry Giles there?
Yeah, I think Brett, from what I heard, I think he nailed it. Like, yeah, I mean, he was, a top prospect now, but too many knee injuries, and me and you talked about it all the time with, in the NFL draft with guys that are just hurt all the time. It just depends on what your medical team says. Does he pass a physical? What are your knee experts, I guess, say? And and there's plenty of them. So you need 100% pass from me before I even consider drafting this guy.
moving on to our last boomer bust guy, a guy that showed up big time in the NCAA tournament and is living probably his stock is probably solely living off of that, and that's DJ Wilson from the University of Michigan, who I believe at the combine based on how he played.
I don't think either me or Brett heard that.
No? All right.
Start with DJ Wilson.
With DJ Wilson, he showed up big in the NCAA tournament, but if I remember correctly, the way he played at the combine did not match that same level that he showed in the tournament.
I mean, Michigan was a team that nobody expected to be there. He was the leader of that team. He made a great run in the tournament. But if you, I haven't looked at his overall body of work, but more often than not, players return to their averages, and he was not somebody that could control a game and dominate a game. And I think he could be a role player for a team. I don't think he'll be a starter for a team, but I think he's somebody that you pick in the second round and hope he finds something that clicks and can become a pretty good role player for somebody being a sixth or seventh man off the bench.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a role player too. I mean, you look at a guy who was a star in the NCAA tournament, Mario Chalmers. Fortunately for him, he was drafted by Miami, which was a perfect system for him. And you gotta ask, would he have been a starter if he was on another team and not with D Wade and LeBron? I don't know. But, he had a solid 10 years for him. Would he have been a first-round pick if there was a draft redo? Probably not, but, solid career.
Yeah, completely agree with you there. He has a little bit, I think, of a higher ceiling, just because he is still very young. I think he was either a sophomore or a redshirt freshman so he has that ability to really show up and show out if he needs to. But like you said, the ceiling just might not necessarily be there.
He was a junior, but he was born in '96, so he's 21, I believe. But you look at his stats from last year in the regular season: 11 points, 5.3 rebounds, 1.5 blocks, which isn't bad. Did shoot 37% from three and 54% from the field, but not something that screams to you, this guy's a first-round pick. This guy's somebody that can change our team and take us even a small step forward.
Right. And unfortunately for guys that get picked in that later first half, you got to live up to the potential of a guy like Jimmy Butler, who went 30th overall at the end of the first round when the Bulls grabbed him. And I don't think that he has that type of natural ability that Jimmy Butler had when he was coming out of the draft. So on to the guys that we just talked about. We talk about ceiling and how high ceiling really is. I got four guys here that are in the conversation for first round, but their ceilings just are limiting them, and they will not even probably be close to the lottery. Starting with Justin Jackson from North Carolina. Did you lose me?
No, I was telling Brett he could go ahead.
Jackson's the guy. Like you said, to lead into him, he's somebody that he might have already reached what he is going to be as a player. He's not somebody that I see a whole lot of future development. I think at the beginning of the year there was a lot of people that liked him and thought he could be a top 10 pick, but I don't think he played up to the expectations. And I think people are worried about how high his ceiling is, which is why he's in this category. And he's somebody a lot like we just talked about, that you're probably going to see as a role player. He's somebody that can contribute decently in limited amount of minutes, but will never be a guy that your team can rely on to lead game after game after game. He could probably take over versus second team in a game, but that's about what you're going to expect from late first round to second round picks.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he is one of the very few players who is coming out as a freshman or a sophomore, and I know that shouldn't raise any flags, But in this day and age, it does. If he was good enough, why wouldn't he have come out earlier? But so yeah, I mean, you could just say it's to win a championship, but I mean, why not just go after the money like everybody else? I don't know.
Right. And for me, I mean, looking just having seen him play, he does hit. He can shoot the ball. So he can provide that off the bench, the ability to be a stretch player, hit a three, hit a corner three here, and he can play defense. But to me, resembles somebody, along the lines of Matt Barnes. Somebody along that mold that can be a very good veteran and player in this league for a very long time, and just needs to find a niche. But they are where they are because they've possibly, reached that ceiling in college, which takes me on to a player that you really liked, Ben, that a lot of people have said that he peaked as a senior in high school, and that's Ivan Rabb.
Yeah, no, I like Ivan Rabb. I don't know if he has peaked. I obviously that has been the big knock on him, but I still think he can be a very good player. I think get this guy to work and just have him develop. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Jared Sullinger, who maybe, you can make the case that Sullinger peaked at Ohio State. So, yeah, I don't know. But, I mean, it's hard for me to say. I do think he's a first-round pick. Definitely not a lottery pick, but I would say in the 20 to 30 range.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Rob's a guy, like you said last year, in coming out of high school, him and Jaylen Brown were that dynamic duo heading out to save the program, and everybody thought they'd both be one and dones, and then Rob stays an extra year. Still had pretty good numbers. I think he was close to a double-double.
He did have a double-double.
Yeah, so a guy had a double-double. People are saying he's still peaked, but I think if you give him time to go to the gym, like Ben said, go to work, only focus on basketball, if he has decent coaching, he's going to get better as a player.
I don't think you can knock that. It's just, in some cases, some guys just happen to have their best basketball in the past. But like you said, if they can get this guy in the right system with the right coach, possibly he could end up becoming a very, very solid player. Like you said, he averaged a double-double. I'm not sure about his natural abilities as a rim protector, but if I remember correctly, he does stretch the floor as well, which reminds me of a player at that time coming from the same conference. I never thought that Brook Lopez was going to become what he became with the Brooklyn Nets and his ability offensively when he was at Stanford. He was just a very solid big who could stretch the floor a little bit, play a little defense, and that's just what he was.
And Rabb is very athletic, too. Let's not discount that.
Right. No, absolutely. And that's the same thing with Brook Lopez, where you just didn't really necessarily see where he ended or where he is at now with the 20 points a game that he can get you. I don't think anybody expected that, and that could be the same for Ivan Rabb. Another guy.
Oh my gosh, you're just going through the gauntlet here.
Basically, I have 4 total here, going from big guy to little guy. A guy that I really like as a bench player, that's Jawan Evans from Oklahoma State, who I think could end up being a huge spark plug off the bench for somebody, and being an elite scorer in the NBA with the way this kid can just knock down shots.
Evans and Oklahoma State, I think, coming from Oklahoma State, I think puts a different sort of mentality into a lot of the players where they play a tougher brand of basketball, I guess you could say. Obviously, he was the spark plug for that team. Big 12 basketball kind of trying to live up to the football reputation, score as many points as he can, play as little defense as possible. But Evans is a guy that, as you said, can be a great scorer in the league, and it's probably just going to take a little bit of time and being in that right spot, a place where he doesn't have to be the starting point guard for a team or the starting shooting guard. He can be that sixth man, sort of what Isaiah was before he went to the Celtics. He averaged 19 points a game, and he shot the ball fairly well from deep while dishing out 6.4 assists. So, I mean, it's something that a guy that probably isn't getting as much respect as he should because of his size, but will provide a spark for somebody regardless of where he ends up.
Yeah. I don't know much about him, so I don't know what to say.
All right. Another guy from the Big 12 Conference who has fit the mold of what this program has built, the undersized four, but an absolute rebound machine, Jonathan Motley out of Baylor. This guy's rebounding abilities are unbelievable. Kind of came out of nowhere and it became the leader of that program. And to me, was a little bit of a surprise that he ended up declaring anyways. But you're seeing more and more undersized fours that just get great positioning and become elite rebounders. And this guy could just become the next one.
Yeah, and I think his size is going to drop him possibly out of the first round.
Right.
But he has a 7'4" wingspan on a 6'9" body. That's crazy. So I think what he needs to do is to get better, and maybe he can work on this in the summer league or in the G League possibly. He needs to work on his shooting range. Become a better 3-point shooter, because if he can become a great player, can become a great stretch for. Otherwise, he's going to end up being a very poor man's Kenyon Martin.
Yeah. To me, he fits exactly what you expect from Baylor forwards, where they're tough, they play defense, they grab rebounds, and they go for the thunderous putback, the thunderous block. I mean, they're about those high effort plays, the plays that your coaches love to see from players, and I think he fits that mold well. And could be that person that goes out and does the little things, sort of like Marcus Smart does for the Celtics, in that he can go out and he'll dive for the loose ball, he'll get you the rebounds, he'll work hard in the paint, and he won't let anybody push him around.
All right.
There's a couple guys that maybe overdid their stay. It feels like they've been in college for 12 years. But are now at this point where they're going to get drafted. Three of my favorite players. I'm going to start with Josh Hart from Villanova, a guy that, 4-year player. And obviously, with the NBA, 4-year players get knocked down because they ended up getting a college degree. But this guy can play basketball, player of the year type player, conference player of the year. What can Josh Hart offer in the NBA in terms of what can he give a team with his, leading Villanova to a national championship? But he's a 4-year player, so his ceiling might not necessarily be as high.
Yeah, he can offer teams spots on a roster or warming the bench. No,
that's a little rough.
No, I don't know. I just don't think his ceiling is very high. And to me, with the NBA draft, especially the NBA draft, it's all about upside. The Lakers are probably going to draft Lonzo Ball because they think he can be a superstar. And it just. I don't think this guy. I think this guy. I mean, we've been talking about players that have reached their ceiling already. I think he has too.
Okay.
I personally have seen him take over games in college. I mean, he led Villanova to the national championship, obviously, but then this year, since big Notre Dame fan, they played Villanova. They were leading throughout most of that game, and he was one of the key reasons as to why they came back and kept their undefeated season alive at the time. A guy that if you want a leader for your second team, he can probably fill that role while contributing a decent amount of points. I mean, he knows how to win. That's all he's done in his college career. And I think there's a lot to be said for that, and it's something that NBA teams will give him a chance after the success that Brogdon had so far with the Bucks. Somebody that should get a look and probably will, and somebody I'm sure you're going to talk about as well, and Sindarius Cornwell, another guy that will probably fit into the same mold.
That was the next name on my list. I am a huge fan of Sindarius Thornwell. I think he has a lot to offer in the NBA. I would love if he was available when the Bucks made their second round pick. I would be drooling. This guy has all the abilities. He would have been a lottery pick had he come out as a freshman, but continued to just go back and work on his game. And this guy really does it all. He just happens to be a four-year player, but I think this is a guy that can continue to fill that mold of great second-round picks. When you look at guys like Draymond Green, who was a second-round pick as well, and I think Thornwell gives you so much as a leader, as a scorer, as a shooter, and a defender that this guy has, I think, a high ceiling, even though he's a four-year player and a little bit older.
Yeah, he's a natural scorer. Kind of reminds me, I think he could be somebody like Jonathan Simmons right now of the Spurs. Maybe spend a couple years in the summer league, in the G League, and then help out a team and become a solid, role player.
Yeah, I think he obviously elevated his stock once again with what he did in the tournament, bringing South Carolina as far as they did. But I think he's everything you want to see from college basketball as a fan, in that he was able to play at such a high level and put his education first. But in the NBA, that doesn't necessarily help him. But he's a player that will contribute on the defensive end immediately. Regardless of what you think of his ceiling, he can contribute defensively. He should be able to contribute offensively a little bit as well. And a player that should be, at worst, a good role player for a really good team.
Now, another four-year player, just kind of thinking off the top of my head, would it maybe be fair to say that he's Chris Middleton?
That's a stretch.
I mean, Chris Middleton was a four-year player who ended up being a second-round pick that nobody really expected to be anything.
But not
he was a
every
throw-in.
four-year player second-round picks become Chris Middleton.
No, I know, but I mean, just where he was when coming out of school, the comparison, not to what Chris Middleton has become.
I mean, maybe. I think Middleton has a little bit more versatility where, when he came into the league and he played a little bit of point guard here and there, and now with the Bucks he plays at both the 2 and the 3. I think this guy...
He's tall, which helps.
Exactly.
The last player that I want to get your guys' opinions on, and then if there's anything else that you guys want to add that we haven't covered yet, feel free. But I want to get your take on Caleb Swanigan from Purdue. This guy was a machine. He was a great college player. He's undersized. But what do you think he can become? Is he a guy that can still get better? Can be a future all-star? Or is it just, the fact that he's 6'9"? Is he going to just be a great college player and that's it?
Go ahead, Brett.
I personally think he has a chance to do something for. I mean, a lot of the mock drafts I look at have the Celtics taking him in the second round, along with Sindarius Thornwell. So, two guys I both really liked what they did in college, and as you said, he was a double-double machine for Purdue, and that's against some really good competition, some really good players that I think he could step into the NBA and still make an impact. Doesn't necessarily stretch the floor as much as you'd like for an undersized 4. But a guy that should be able to make some sort of an impact, both rebounding and on the offensive end, because some guys just have a knack for where the ball is going to go, and I think he is one of those guys.
Yeah, to me, Caleb Swanigan has DeJuan Blair written all over him.
Yes.
DeJuan Blair came in extremely undersized. But, fortunately for him, he was drafted by San Antonio in the second round. I think he was part of one of the championship years with them. I think he started at center that year.
I believe you're right.
Yeah, I mean, and had a really good start to his career, but it just came down to the fact that, he plays like a center, but he's too small to play center, and it was right during the kind of the renaissance for stretch fours, where guys like like Hito Turkoglu were kind of dominating the league, and it just was not a good.
There's a name.
Yeah, no, I mean, Hito Turkoglu had a solid, good couple years with Orlando, but to me, Swanigan, again, I mean, and DeJuan Blair really just fell out of the league because he was too small to play center, and people didn't like him at power forward because they wanted a shooter. I think this could be the same thing with Swanigan because Swanigan's going to have to end up guarding guys like Andre Drummond and Joel Embiid if he's going to play at center. So this is a tough one for me. I mean, Swanigan, like I said, with a couple other guys, he's going to have to work on his shooting if he wants to make it in the NBA.
Now, when you look at Swanigan's game, like you said, obviously the height, if he's going to play center, maybe you can move him to the 4. If you do so, you would probably end up needing a stretch 5 because he would probably be your under-the-basket player. Obviously, a different style of game today than definitely in the past. But when you look at undersized players that rebound, you got to think of Charles Barkley. Is this a guy that maybe could fit that mode? Who, if he just comes in hungry and brings that next level tenacity, that maybe that's what he could end up reciprocating. Maybe not the scorer, but a rebounder. Maybe not quite to the level of Dennis Rodman, but the undersized of a Charles Barkley.
Yeah, I mean, Charles Barkley worked harder than anybody else on the court pretty much his entire career, and that's why he's a Hall of Famer. If Swanigan puts that kind of effort in, he's going to get in somewhere, To me, a guy that has a ton of effort and is kind of undersized at the 4 is Kenneth Faried. Look at him. I mean, he can't shoot the ball worth anything. But he has stayed in the league for a very long time and has been starting ever since with Denver. So, I mean, to me, that's the ceiling right there is Kenneth Faried. That'd be very good for him.
Is there anybody that I missed that you guys want to touch on that you maybe you like that we didn't bring up? Maybe something that you guys want to get touch on beforehand.
I think a guy that will probably get overpicked, and I talked about him just a sec, is Ike Anigbogu from UCLA. He's gonna be. He's right now. He's 18. He's gonna be 19 by the beginning of the year. But he was just one of the guys in the combine that just made everybody's eyes just go wide. There's no. We talked about it a lot with the NBA or NFL draft. People just look at a guy and say, "I can work on this guy. I can make him." An all-star.
There's just certain things that you can't teach, and he has some of those natural abilities that you can't teach.
Absolutely. I wouldn't draft him, but no.
Me either.
No,
I'm not taking him either.
Yeah, but I think he is going to get overdrafted for that reason.
Another player I want to throw in there as well that probably. Maybe if he did go to college, maybe I don't know. But a player that I think could get overdrafted as well as a 3-and-D guy is Terrence Ferguson, who spurned going to Arizona to go and get paid and play in Australia, and took the Brandon Jennings route. A heck of an athlete, a 3-point shooter, a defender, but that's it. He's basically Avery Bradley, and I mean, I think he could end up going in the late lottery. And a guy that gets overreached as well, like you said with Ike and the Bongu.
I mean, a couple of years ago, a guy kind of like that was Ricky Leto, who ended up not play. He went to Providence, but he ended up not playing because of some. I think he was ineligible or something like that.
I think he was hurt.
Okay, it was something like that. But he was one of the best players in high school, and. Did absolutely nothing in the NBA. He might still be in the G League, but we've probably said G League more than anybody else on this show. I bet you we broke some kind of record, like when SportsCenter broke saying Brett Favre how many times in an hour. We got to get that, but I'm getting off the point. But yeah, I think he could end up being a guy like Ricky Leto, who we hear a lot of hype during the draft and then absolutely nothing after that.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me. I mean, not to say that Dante Exum is nothing, but I think Dante Exum went from being this guy is going to be a phenomenal point guard to I don't even know if this guy's future anywhere. Right? Not even he doesn't have a role on his own team, and he was a top. I think he was the fifth pick.
I think he was the fourth pick.
They took him the year after taking Trey Burke, who
was worse.
The same thing.
But yeah, Exum's getting outplayed by Shelvin Mack and Raul Neto. So that just says.
Anyways, so moving on. Do you guys have anything else that you wanted to add
about the draft?
About the draft. Yep.
Well, based on pretty much every other year, some big all-star name is going to get traded. I mean, last year it was there was a couple names. Serge Ibaka, probably the biggest one. And any ideas? I mean, people saying Paul George, but
and the latest rumor was that the Lakers are trying to turn the 27th and 28th pick into Paul George. That maybe we get through basically the entirety of the first round to find out that Paul George is getting drafted during the second round, or just about the second round of the NBA draft.
I'm gonna say Carmelo Anthony. I know I said earlier I didn't think he'd get traded, but if it's going to happen, I think it'll be this within the next 2 days before the draft. They need something to really set themselves up for the future, and if they're going to do that, this draft is probably one of their better opportunities to do so.
Well, so Orlando was the team that got Serge Ibaka. It was probably one of the reasons why their GM got fired. Now that John Hammond's there, he's going to want to get some draft pieces. I say they trade Aaron Gordon away.
I can agree with that. I think, John Hammond, seeing what he did here in Milwaukee, I think with what he does with that first pick, if a guy that they take, is reminiscent to the similar pieces of what they have in Giannis and Thon Maker, then we obviously know that they're going to try to he's going to try to recreate that magic. And I think maybe not a trade, but if you're going to look at a spot where somebody goes a lot higher than what we're anticipating, Orlando could be that spot, because Milwaukee just did it this last year with Thon Maker, and Thon ended up having a relatively successful rookie year in a lot of people's minds when they thought he wasn't going to do much of anything.
Yeah. I'm going to say another name. I think Phoenix is going to trade away either Eric Bledsoe or Brandon Knight. One or the other.
That's a good call. Just rumors. The LA Clippers have been on the phone with the Phoenix Suns regarding DeAndre Jordan.
Oh, God.
Ben's favorite player.
That's just... No. Because... See, I'm thinking if I'm the Clippers, your only choice at this point is to build around DeAndre Jordan. So,
yeah. I agree with you.
God,
unless they try to get weren't they the ones that drafted Eric Bledsoe? So maybe they try to get Eric Bledsoe back because they think Chris Paul's leaving.
I don't think Eric Bledsoe's not a guy you build a team around, though. It's just.
No.
That's why
they're gonna go get B Knight. They're gonna go get B Knight. That's what they're gonna do.
And I mean, I personally don't think you build a team around DeAndre Jordan either.
I don't think build the team around anybody on that roster at this point. The only player that I would say is Chris Paul, but he's now at that point in his career where you don't build around him anymore.
No, and that's the unfortunate part for the Clippers is they were always a Blake Griffin injury away from making a run, but without any doubt, it happened every single year when they needed him the most. And that big three of Jordan, Griffin, and Paul, along with Doc Rivers, is going to go down as probably one of the most. I mean, I don't want to say unsuccessful because they won a lot of games, but underperforming teams that there was.
Oh, yeah, they definitely built up that team with the intent of winning a championship. And, I mean, the fact that they rarely got out of the first or second round is a complete failure on their part.
Well, and unfortunately, Golden State did the same thing. They just did a better job.
Yeah. Yep.
I think another trade that you have to look at, this whole lead up to the draft, if Boston can get Josh Jackson in for a workout, then I think we have to believe.
Oh.
Don't. They could. If they don't. Did I cut out?
Back up about 10 seconds.
Okay. If Boston is able to get Josh Jackson in for a workout, you would have to assume that they're going to keep that pick at number 3. A trade that could end up happening. Or do they take Josh Jackson or Jason Tatum in the retrospect that a team like that's who Chicago might want.
Right.
And they draft them with the anticipation of, we'll take the player who you want. Now give us Jimmy Butler. That's another thing that I think we got to watch for on draft night as well. The Bulls have done that twice. The last time they made that trade, they were on the wrong end, sending LaMarcus Aldridge to the Trailblazers for Tyrese Thomas.
Yeah, I remember that.
But that
is all I got, guys.
All right.
I mean,
so, I wanted to talk about so our show has not had an intro ever since Brett got here. Thanks, Brett.
I like things up.
Yeah, no, but no, we didn't have an intro because obviously for our original intro, Brett's name was not on it, so we didn't want to leave him out. So
and our original intro actually was vetoed from the country of Germany. It was not allowed.
Yeah, and. Yeah, it was a couple of... That was when we were playing songs and commercial breaks. We don't do that anymore. But we're going to try and get a new intro. But for now, I have another intro, kind of a substitute. And it's from a college friend of mine called... his name is Vac7. He is a robot. I had a college class with him. Did you guys ever talk to him? No, okay. Well, I'm going to play the intro right away, and it'll be the intro for now. So, here we go. You guys ready?
Hello there, and welcome to We're Talkin' Sports, hosted by Ben Burns, Richie Donnell, and Brett Burke. I am Vac7, the lifeless robot. My only function is to introduce the show. That is all I have to say. Enjoy.
So,
that's awesome.
That's just a substitute. He's helping us out. He doesn't have any jobs, but yeah, cool guy.
That's awesome.
He's
real nice.
He's a fun guy, but he needs to cheer up a little bit. I don't know. But anyways, it is time. It's time for it to play some games. So
Yep.
I
have a list. Or do you want to go first?
It's my week. So.
Sorry.
You should have put your list at the end of that whole 2.5-hour draft segment we just did.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
All
right, I'll keep it. I'll keep it for my week. I'll keep it for my.
Any other future busts you want to talk about?
No.
All right. No, we're gonna do a little segment called "Who He Played For." And today's I wanted to stick with the NBA because we're in the middle of the draft, but today, who's gonna start first? First of all.
If you want this to go more than two teams, you might want me to go first.
Okay, you go first. You go. Brett goes first. Today, our person is Brent Berry, and he played for 6 teams.
Oh, jeez.
Spurs.
So he did play for the San Antonio Spurs.
That was the one that I had.
Are you kidding me? Oh my god.
I get the berries mixed up, so if I get this wrong, I blame it on that. Was he the one that played for Golden State?
Oh, no.
That
was definitely the other berry.
No.
Come
Got to put on an 18.
Come on. He won a dunk contest.
I know,
but I don't remember who he played for.
weird.
I think that was before. I think that was before my time.
So
either way, me and you were the worst tandem of who he played for participants.
I'm gonna do Brett Favre next time.
Hey, I'll know that one. I can get that one.
I'm gonna throw out Memphis.
No. All right.
No.
So since you guys are terrible, I'll just. So he was drafted by the Clippers, which he also won the dunk contest with, then the Miami Heat, and the Chicago Bulls. Then for 5 years or so, he played for the Supersonics, and then the Spurs, and then the Houston Rockets.
Because I do know he was the one that dunked from the free throw line.
Yes.
And that was how he ended up getting the dunk contest.
Yep.
I know that. I just didn't know. I don't know anybody that he played for.
All right. Well, our next list, I do have a list here, and it's top 50.
Okay.
All right. So
Ben actually sticking to the name of the game, unlike Brett and myself.
Yep. About a week, 2 weeks ago, I guess now, Forbes came out with a list of the top 100 highest paid athletes of 2017. Now, there were a lot of players on here that played soccer and were auto racers. Neither of which, I don't think any of us know any of them.
Messi.
Maybe, some of them. Yeah, but so I took out soccer, I took out auto racing, and so we got the rest, and I'll name off all the sports and how many are in each of them.
Now, this is just 2017, not like biggest contracts ever or anything.
No, and it's not just contracts. It's everything. It's how much they're getting paid this year, contract and endorsements.
Ooh.
So, so there
Is golf still included?
What?
Is golf still included?
Let me get to that. All right. So there are 20 NBA players, 8 NFL players, 8 MLB players, 6.
This is a good time for a pen.
Yes, you definitely. So 8 MLB players, 6 tennis players, 5 golfers, and then 1 in track and field, 1 in UFC, and 1 in boxing. And let me just note right away, for boxing, this was before Floyd Mayweather came out of retirement, so he's not on this list.
To fight McGregor, you mean?
Right. So they considered Floyd Mayweather retired.
I got 8 MLB. What was before that?
8 NFL and 20 NBA.
All right.
Okay.
So this is endorsements, contract, any type of money.
Yes,
that is taxed.
Okay. I just want to forewarn you, there are some players on this list that are surprisingly not on the list, and that might be because of how their contract is worked. So, they earned $25 million in 2015, but only $8 million in 2017.
Right.
So,
That would be Tom Brady.
Just a forewarning, but...
Yep.
All right. So, Richie, you go first.
LeBron James.
LeBron James, number 1. I think the soccer guy was number 1. I'm blanking. Ronaldo, yeah.
I'm going to try to knock out the track and field and go with Usain Bolt.
Very good. Number 17. Farther than I thought we'd ever get.
You said farther than we ever got. Okay.
Come on.
No. I'm just trying to think of what sport I want to do here. I got some names in my head, but I feel like I'm going to mess it up based on how contracts are set up and everything. I'm going to say Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant, number 3.
I'm right at the top.
I'm going to go UFC and go Conor McGregor.
Yes, he is. I'm looking for him. So
the boxer I cannot think of who it is.
I can't either.
Conor McGregor, number 18.
Okay.
So I got 17 and 18.
Yes.
So this is 2016 money?
17.
I'm just trying to think here because I have a tennis player, but Serena or not Serena? Yeah, Serena's pregnant, so I can't remember if she played or not. If she's on this list. So for baseball, I'm gonna go Bryce Harper.
Hang on, I can't remember if he's on the list or not. Oh, God, Richie, you're so bad at these lists.
No Bryce Harper?
No Bryce Harper.
Would you have thought he was on there, Brett?
No, because he's still on his previous contract. I think he's only making $14 million a year.
Yeah, but endorsements and everything, I definitely would have thought Bryce Harper would have.
I know, but when you're looking at LeBron's total, like number one, he's got to be close to $100 million.
He's at 80.
Yeah, so that I mean, he's only making 30 of that from, or 28 of that from the Cavaliers. So when you think MLB, I mean, I think Kershaw's on this list. He's not my next name, but tennis, I'm going to go with Rafael Nadal.
That's who I was going to say for tennis, too.
Rafael Nadal is on this list. Hang on. Rafael Nadal, number 25.
I can't think of the tennis player's name, but he was like number one in the world for like the last couple of years. I can't pronounce it. I know that. Not Jokic. That's not how you say it, is it?
I'm thinking of Novak Djokovic.
Maybe. like if I see it, I know it, but
Djokovic was number one in the world for the last couple of years.
Okay, I'm gonna give you Novak Djokovic. He's number 12.
Okay. That's yeah.
Let's see.
So two tennis players are gone.
Okay,
two tennis players are gone.
You know what? Richie, I'm gonna give you just a strike. So
Okay. All right.
So Brett, if you screw up on one, then we're even.
We're even. Okay. Let's see.
You can throw Kershaw out there with no hesitation.
Well, I'm 99% sure Kershaw is on this list, but I'm not going to put him out there yet. Let's go golf. I'm going to go Phil Mickelson.
Phil Mickelson is number 9.
I'm gonna go with Rory.
Rory McIlroy, number 5.
Might as well keep golf going and go with Dustin Johnson.
Dustin Johnson, number 38.
Yep, I'm done with golf. You got me. You got me there. I would say Ricky Fowler, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I'm not.
If he's capitalized on that and that endorsement game quite yet. So LeBron and Durant were the two NBA players.
Still got 18 NBA players.
Yeah. James Harden.
James Harden, number 7.
Russell Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook, number 10.
Killing me, Brett.
You have 2 strikes, don't you?
No, I got one.
No, you have 2.
You got one.
I have 2.
Are you giving him Djokovic?
I'm giving him Djokovic.
Oh yeah.
I knew who I was talking about. I'm not good with names. Leave me alone. I'm gonna take a stab in the dark here. This might be strike 2, but I'm gonna go with JJ Watt.
Strike 2.
How is JJ Watt not on this list?
I don't know.
What's his contract with the Texans?
Massive?
Well, apparently not enough. Let's see. NBA, Steph Curry.
Steph Curry, number 6.
Well then.
Man,
you're not taking the easy.
Yeah, he's not taking the. You got to go with the easy names right away.
I'm blanking hard right now.
Man.
There's 8 NFL players, and we have not named a single one.
I I know. I said J.J. Watt, and apparently that wasn't right.
I know. I'm trying to think.
See, and I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't think Rodgers does a whole lot in terms of endorsement.
I mean, State Farm's got to be paying him a ton of money.
Right, but that was how many years ago? Does he still do those commercials?
Yeah, the one where he throws the golf club through the truck window.
Oh yeah, good call. I'm
trying to give you one here.
Yeah, I'll just go with Rodgers. Whatever.
Strike 3.
Thanks, Brett. Appreciate your help.
That is
He was
great.
the guy I was talking about with contracts. I'm like,
Yeah.
That's why I said Tom Brady, because that would be Tom
so Richie,
Brady.
you have a 3-point lead.
I'm gonna go with Jason Day.
Strike 1.
No Jason Day on the golf
Jason
side.
Day.
All right, Brett, you gotta keep going since I got 3 strikes.
No, Richie, you just keep going. No, we're gonna go back and forth.
Okay. I'm trying to think here of NFL guys that make a ton of money.
Still haven't named.
See, a lot of them.
Still haven't named
What's
the
that?
NFL guy who has the biggest contract of all time.
Why am I blanking on who that would be?
I mean, I'll name him, but I'll
Okay.
wait.
So, Richie, do you admit defeat?
Yeah.
All right.
Through luck.
Andrew Luck, number 4. We just let you guys can just spout out names.
Clayton Kershaw.
Clayton Kershaw, number 21.
Zach Greinke.
You're terrible at this.
No,
Zach Greinke has the richest deal in the history of Major League Baseball per year.
Oh, and
he's not on this
and
list.
who are his sponsors?
I'm gonna throw Tom Brady out there. I still think he makes
He's
it.
not.
No. I didn't know how much Ugg was paying
Yeah,
him.
he's spending too much time with us.
Hey, do you know the money amount by
I
chance?
did not write that down.
Because I was gonna say Zach
This
Greinke
is
alone.
Forbes. This is all Forbes.
Yeah, but
this is all
Greinke makes $28 million a year.
All Forbes.
I think he makes more than that.
His contract was 7 years, $210 million. Let's see. NFL, MLB. Mike Trout.
Mike Trout is not on this list.
No, he's not. He's the same thing as Harper. He's on his rookie contract yet.
Well, he signed a 6-year, $144 million extension.
Yeah, that's why I was gonna say Miguel Cabrera. I know that's not right. Because same thing, his massive
Miguel
contract.
Cabrera is on this list. He's number
Oh, really?
29.
I'm gonna
Greinke,
guess
okay, Brett, you weren't even close. Zach Greinke makes $35 million a year alone off of his baseball contract.
Okay.
Well, it must be front loaded. My guess on the boxer is I think his name's Josie Aldo.
It is not.
Not Josie Aldo.
Is Fowler on there? I was gonna say Fowler
He's
before,
not.
but I didn't.
Fowler's on
You're
there.
missing one golfer. Or
Two golfers.
one notable golfer at least.
Is Tiger on that list?
Tiger is at number 13.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, Tiger.
Because of his endorsement.
There's another
Is the
notable golfer. Maybe not. He's not a household name, but he's a pretty good golfer.
You know, Brett, we combined as much as we know baseball to get 1 of 8 on baseball. 2 of 8 on baseball
This
players.
is just embarrassing.
I'm trying to. Well,
I think my list was a little bit easier than yours.
I thought this was easy.
Probably would have been David Ortiz, but he's not there anymore. So
If this was contracts alone, I think it would have been easier. Endorsements is what kind of.
Carlos Stanton. Is he on the list? 10 years, $300 million. I know.
This came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't look at it.
All right.
So-
Well, should we just leave it at that, and I'll just go through the list?
Yeah.
Okay. So number 2, Roger Federer. Number 8,
tennis.
Number 8, Drew Brees. Number
Endorsements.
11, Damian Lillard. Number 14, Dwayne Wade. Number 15.
I was going to say him.
Number 15, Jordan Spieth. Number 6.
There you go. There's your golfer.
Number 16, Derek Rose. Number 19. Wow. Number 19, the only guy I've never heard of, Kei Nishikori. He's apparently a tennis player. Number 20, Fletcher Cox. Number 22, really? Carmelo Anthony. Number 23, Antonio Brown. Number 24, DeMar DeRozan. Oh boy, the back end you guys only got 2, so here we go. Number 26, Eric Berry. Number 27, Chris Paul. Number 28, David Price. Number 30, Kyrie Irving. 31, Stephon Gilmore. 32, Andy Murray. 33, Justin Verlander. 34, Mike Conley. 35, Canelo Alvarez, the boxer. Number 36, Anthony Davis. 37, Blake Griffin. 39, Albert Pujols. 40, Dwight Howard. 41, Serena Williams. 42, Robinson Cano. 43, Kevin Love. 44, Chris Bosh. 45, Cam Newton. 46, Dirk Nowitzki. 47, Paul George. 48, Felix Hernandez. 49, Jason Pierre-Paul. And number 50, CeCe Sabathia.
I'm tripping on how some of those guys make more endorsement money than some of the guys that we named.
Go call Forbes.
I want to know who David Price has for endorsers.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's got a big contract.
I got a big contract, but that's it. So did Zach Greinke.
Oh my gosh. So much.
Zach Greinke makes more than David Price.
So much complaining. Oh my gosh.
I don't think it's my abilities. I think it's the lists that get
I don't think so. There. You picked Robert Horry for the playoff scores.
Well, hey,
you picked Robert Horry over Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili.
That's because I try to pick the hard ones first.
No, you're supposed to pick the easy ones first. That's
the game of lasting the other.
Have you ever watched Stump the Schwab?
I have one of my favorite shows.
Clearly not.
You didn't learn anything.
Oh my gosh. Alright. So, now we move on to our final game of the week. Hang on. I'm pulling up something. A little game called Make Your Case.
Dum.
Alright. So I have 7 questions here. Richie,
you need to get redemption here.
Richie, so far you have not won any.
Nope.
Brett, you have won 1, and I have won 2. So, Brett, if you win this, we tie. Richie, if you win this, you tie with Brett. So, very...
I plan to keep him in the cellar with no win.
Okay, so we're going to start right away, if you'd like. Our first question is an NFL history question. All right?
Okay.
Who is the best NFL player to never win a Super Bowl?
Calvin Johnson.
Dan Marino.
All right. So, Brett, you obviously go first whenever you're ready.
Calvin Johnson is arguably the greatest wide receiver of all time. Probably second best wide receiver of all time. Has more ability than anybody at the wide receiver position, but always played on a team that was mediocre. Even with Matt Stafford there, no matter how much Calvin Johnson did, they weren't able to get to the Super Bowl.
Calvin Johnson isn't even the best receiver who hasn't won a Super Bowl. That would go to Randy Moss. Dan Marino is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He's a top 5 quarterback of all time. The only knock on him is that he wasn't able to get that ring. He did have some talent around him. He was able to get there, but never achieved that feat. But he set the standard and started a whole lot.
Dan Marino controlled his own destiny on the field every single play. Calvin Johnson had to rely on Matthew Stafford.
Time.
Dan Marino may have controlled his destiny, but a lot of that goes into his teammates being the quarterback. His game is impacted by everybody around him, not just one player.
All right. I got to give it to Richie. I do feel like Dan Marino is the best of those two, the better player, but the Dolphins were not a bad team.
Not at all.
And you're knocking a lot on Matthew Stafford. He got 5,000 yards in one season, but hey, all right. So Richie is in the lead. Very interesting. I don't think anybody expected this.
Jeez. You're throwing me under the bus right away.
So this next question is all sports, not just Big Four, any sport you want, and current. So not history, current athletes. Which athlete should get a movie about their life?
I'm gonna go a little known Gif Nagope.
Okay.
Ooh. I guess that's your point. Okay. What current athlete should get? We're gonna stay at home. Giannis.
Okay. All right. Brett, whenever you're ready.
Gif Nagope should get a movie about his life because he is the first and only African-born player to make it to Major League Baseball's highest level. He could be an inspiration for not just players in Africa, but in this country as well, because he fought and became the first ever to do something from an entire nation.
Time.
Okay. Usually when you make a movie, you want to make money. Right now, Giannis Antetokounmpo is a major star in the NBA. He has excelled his game over the past 4 years. You talk about having an inspiration in Africa. Giannis is an inspiration in Europe. Europe is as a whole, what I think would cover a lot more people than it would in Africa. You have more people that are going to watch it. Giannis is already making. Yep.
Gif could be a player that could help bring Africa together again, help stop world wars, help bring the country together as one, not world wars, civil wars. Wrong word choice.
Giannis has already started to give back to Italy and make an impact there, and it's broadcast all over America because of the whole NBA Cares organization that they use in Thai, and I think that would bring...
Now, where's Giannis from?
Greece.
That should be
Italy.
Man, okay. So I'm going against Mr. Italy over here versus a movie that's gonna stop world wars. Holy crap!
We are throwing out some bold, false lines out there.
Man, I want to see that movie. That's a tough one though. Hard arguments here, but man, I'm surprised nobody went with Tiger Woods. Especially now, all this crap. I want to know about his scandals. I want to know what he was thinking when he was taking all the pills. I don't know. But anyways, it's all about, if I had to choose just straight up, I would choose Brett's guy because I've never heard of him. But
I have a feeling Mr. Italy's getting the win.
Nah, you see, the whole Italy thing threw me. I gotta go Brett.
So it's okay to end World War since there hasn't been a World War since the 40s.
Obviously.
Hey, there's gonna be a World War in like the next 10 years. So just wait. Gif Nagope will be the stopper of World War.
It could have I'm trying to think. The movie.
If you want to watch a movie about ending wars, go watch the Nelson Mandela movie.
That's what I was thinking of, though. The Nelson Mandela movie, that made a big impact, though. So.
But that was also on a person that was well known, and that was a well known historical event.
Yeah, well, you never know. Nelson Mandela didn't just become well known overnight.
All right.
What?
Okay, let's move on.
So who won the point, Brett?
Brett won. So we're tied 1-1. This is an interesting question. Again, all sports, current athletes. This is a fun, strange question. So have you guys seen the new fashion, I guess, of rompers for males? Yes. So you're the CEO of the new company selling these romp hymns. Which athlete do you want in your commercial?
Vince Wilfork.
I'm gonna go with JJ Watt.
JJ Watt. Okay, Brett, whenever you're ready.
If you can sell Vince Wilfork in a romper, I don't think there's anything you can't sell. Vince Wilfork would appeal to a very wide variety of American citizens living in the day and age we do today, where everybody is overweight. He would be the perfect spokesperson for the romp him.
Richie, whenever you're ready.
The reason I think JJ Watt would be a better fit is because you want to sell the item. It's not about if you can sell it with Vince Wilfork. It's about selling the item to begin with. JJ Watt is a little more well-known than Vince Wilfork right now. He's basically the face of the defensive side of the ball in the NFL. He already does a lot of promotional work and commercials. His face is well-known, and he also would look good in the romper.
The problem with JJ Watt is that 99% of the people in America don't look like him. People like to connect with people they can look like, and Vince Wilfork is a very easy person to reach.
The problem with Vince Wilfork is I haven't seen a picture of somebody that even looks remotely close to him in a romper. If you want to make that claim, Brett.
I don't know if I ever want to see a man in a romper.
Hey, break it up. All right. Richie gets the point on that one. His opening argument is best. He's more well-known. He actually looks fit, and that's what people want. Like when people
they want to believe they can look like JJ Watt. Exactly. They don't want to believe that they can look like Vince Wilfork.
But I would have bought the whole Vince Wilfork thing. He's an entertaining guy.
Now that's what if I was you, Brett, that's where I thought you were going to go. That you said you can do more entertaining things because he's not your typical model.
Exactly.
That's what I thought you were going to.
Exactly. I mean, that's why I would have said Robert Gronkowski. I would have said Gronk.
There you go.
Because I could see Gronk wearing one of those. You know?
Yep.
All right.
You see $102,000 on a bar tab.
That's what I was going to say. I was just going to say, the guy who spends $102,000 on a bar tab.
Apparently, the NFL's not very happy about that. So
it's his money. Anyway, moving on.
Exactly. So Richie is up 2-1. Uh-oh.
Pressure's on.
Number 4, we're talking about current NBA players. Which NBA player would be better off if they played in the 50s?
Draymond Green.
50.
Okay. You said Draymond?
Draymond Green.
Okay.
Should have thought a little more about that one, but whatever.
Hold on. You gotta give me time to think real quick. Dang. Wow. I'm really blanking hard right now.
You can throw any.
I know.
I'm gonna give you 15 seconds.
Dwight Howard.
All right. Draymond Green versus Dwight Howard. Brett, whenever you're ready.
Draymond Green would be perfect for the 50s because of his hard-nosed attitude on defense. His ability to kick people would not come into question. He would be able to play defense the way he wants to and play without having to worry about the tic-tac fouls that he has today. He plays hard, and he doesn't shoot the ball well, which is perfect for the 50s.
All right, time.
Talk about Draymond Green doesn't shoot the ball well. In the 50s, Draymond Green's versatility wouldn't be a factor, period, because there was no three-point line. Everybody would want to go to the basket. That's why Dwight Howard is a better fit, because there was no 3-second violation. He could literally sit in the paint and block shots. He could goaltend. He could do whatever he wanted to keep the ball out of the basket, and with his elite athleticism.
Draymond doesn't need to shoot the ball well. He can go to the hole as well. He can play defense. He can block shots just like Dwight Howard. He can grab rebounds, and he can be the passer that teams need to get the ball into the big man.
In the 1950s, the game was centered around the big man. You talk about guys like Will Chamberlain and Bill Russell. Dwight Howard would fit that mold. He's just a little bit more athletic and would dominate that era because of the athleticism he has in today's age with the bigger.
Sorry, I forgot to say time. But
that's why I kept looking at you.
No, it's okay. Sure. Hey, Draymond's a good shooter.
Exactly. That was my whole point.
I gotta give it to Richie. I do agree. I think he would be better in the 50s, but
Raymond or
Draymond? Dwight Howard.
You gotta give me like 2 seconds so I can get rid of this tick.
Take your time. No. Meanwhile, they have ticks in Maine? I didn't know that.
I guess.
I didn't know that, but so
I thought
Richie's on a 3-1 lead, but we know what happens when people get in a 3-1 lead. So
I just hope I don't choke.
I don't know, but man, this is a fun break. I like this. When are we?
I guess Maine is kind of. I'm gonna guess it's filled with woods.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well.
Welcome back.
There's
were you checking on the hostages? Are they good?
I was.
Are they fed?
No,
they got water.
The tick was just an excuse. I had to make sure.
I get it. Were they being too loud?
Yeah.
Hey, Brett, we've all been there. It's okay.
I haven't.
I learned from the best in Glenn Quagmire on Family Guy. You know he's got hostages all the time.
Okay. Yeah, hey. So, question number 5, talking NFL current. This is another weird question. I forgot. I wrote these 2 weeks ago, so.
I was gonna say, and you made fun of my questions.
They're tough questions.
Greatest question of all time.
I want good debaters here. I'm not looking for good answers. I'm looking for good arguments. Which current quarterback should convert to linebacker?
Cam Newton.
Yeah, I should have thought a little quicker, but let's go with. Think of.
All right, 15 seconds.
15 seconds. I guess I'm going to go with Brock Osweiler.
Okay. All right. I could see arguments for both. Richie, whenever you're ready.
The reason that Cam Newton would be a great fit for the linebacker position, especially if he had the coaching, is the natural athletic ability, his speed, his build. He's built for that position. He's able to make plays, whether it be on the outside, he could run players down, but also his ability to drop back into coverage. At 6'6", he blocks passing lanes, he closes windows, he has a long reach where he's able to deflect the balls.
All those things you said about Cam Newton with his length and his height can pretty much be said about Brock Osweiler as well. He is a very big quarterback. Might not have the same athleticism as Cam Newton, but probably a better thinker in terms of the passing game for being able to fill the lanes and fill his spots in the defensive backfield, read the quarterback's eyes.
You say it's basically the same thing, but the difference is Cam Newton is not afraid of physicality. Coming from Houston, everybody in Houston gets hurt. Brock Osweiler is, being the same way. Cam Newton is not afraid to thump somebody.
Cam Newton gets hurt just as much as Brock Osweiler does. The only difference is Cam Newton is probably going to be hurt for a longer period of time because of how hard he plays the game. Brock Osweiler would have the ability.
Ben, before you answer the question, I'm just going to ask Brett something. Name the last time a quarterback not named Cam Newton has played in Carolina, besides when he had to sit out one play.
Didn't he miss a game last year for a concussion?
Okay,
Who started?
Well, I couldn't tell you who started.
This is not
backup. That's not any good.
This is not part of the argument here. This is not.
Nope. I just wanted to ask.
When was Brock Osweiler hurt?
I don't know. Everybody
exactly. Your argument has as much validity as mine does.
Okay. First of all, the correct answer is Cardale Jones. So, that's the correct answer. No, I'm kidding. Second of all, Richie, you should have won. Never mind. The question is which current quarterback should convert to linebacker? He's already an MVP quarterback. Why should he? Brock Osweiler sucks. Which, Brett, I don't know why you didn't say that. But
I guess I didn't think of the whole the wording of your question.
Okay. You guys basically said the same thing, but the only different thing I heard was Cam Newton's more physical. So I got to go Richie. So Richie wins.
Correct. We're tied, brother.
I was still 2-1 today.
So I'm gonna leave these.
What are the other questions?
I'm gonna leave them. So for the next, do you want to hear them?
I do.
Okay.
Can we converse about it a little bit?
Yes, we can talk about it.
Okay.
So, sixth question for individual sports. So, golf, tennis, whatever. Who would you want to spend an entire day with?
Floyd Mayweather.
Can this be alive or dead?
Current athletes. Yeah, Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather's not a bad answer.
No.
He's the richest.
I'd say Dustin Johnson.
You know, I'd be inclined to say Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Dale Earnhardt wouldn't be a bad
Come
one.
on. Oh, man, go driving? Dude, that'd be fun.
And the reason I said Floyd is because Floyd has been... Floyd can go off at any moment on somebody and just start... You know what I mean? I think it would be the most controversial, entertaining...
What if he goes off on you?
I mean... You ever seen The Hangover? My man took a punch from Mike Tyson.
I don't think he enjoyed it. All right, and my seventh question was current college, NCAA current, most overrated college coach.
Most overrated college coach. Ooh.
That's a tough question.
It is.
That is.
I could make Richie really mad here if I said somebody.
Who's Saban?
No, I was going to say Calipari.
I mean, that's who I thought of too. I like Calipari, but I can see the value as to why he'd be overrated. Jimbo Fisher.
Ooh. That's tough.
What'd you say, Brett? Are you going with Calipari?
Calipari would be good.
I'd say Calipari because he. I mean, it's. You have the number one recruiting class every year, which obviously gives you some credit because you recruited those kids. But I'd say they underperformed with the amount of talent that they have every year.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, how many championships has he won at Kentucky?
One
in 9 years with 9 number one recruiting class.
I mean, yeah, but if you want to play devil's advocate to that, you're talking about a new team every single year versus schools that have
Saban, and Nick Saban gets it done every year.
Well, right, but I mean, Nick Saban could be the same way. You could say that Nick Saban should win the national championship every year, and they don't. You know,
he does.
Well, see, and that's what I think about Jimbo Fisher. I think Jimbo Fisher, when he walked in, I mean, Bobby Bowden is Florida State. He walked into a great spot. Calipari had to rebuild Kentucky. Jimbo had it rocking and rolling. He was just a quarterback away, and he went out and got Jameis Winston, and that basically, Florida State recruits itself. As does Kentucky. And to me, that's Jimbo had that one good year, and other than that, they have fallen flat to expectations every year.
I think I would say Jim Mora Jr.
At UCLA?
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin, baby!
I thought about him, but everybody knows he sucks.
I can't call him overrated yet. He hasn't coached his new team.
Here's another one for you. A guy that's never won a national championship, Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
But look where Michigan was before he came, though.
Stanford won one game before, 0 games before he got there. And they ended up at the Rose Bowl, but he could never win the championship.
That doesn't mean he's overrated.
Well,
he's considered one of the top, 5 coaches in college football?
He's not the most overrated.
I would.
He might be a little.
I'm not saying it's the most, but I'm saying that's a name that you could say is overrated.
I would knock down that argument pretty hard. All right, okay. Well, that's our show. we're improving every day.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned to our YouTube channel. I think we're gonna get some more content pretty soon. I'm working on some stuff. I'm working on possibly doing a weekly thing with maybe a weekly report with one of my teams.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see. Something interesting coming along, but hope you guys enjoy the NBA draft and our NBA draft preview that we gave to you. And follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. And keep subscribing. I guess you can only subscribe once, but subscribe. But see you guys later. Have a fantastic week.